Hello and welcome back, guys, to the channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we are back on the cheap Chevy Express camper build. Now, I think last time I left you, I had just finished up the bed framing. So today I want to get to work on some electrical. And one of the big ones that's going to be fun, cut a hole in the roof and put a fan in here. I need good ventilation in these things. I don't want any moisture build up. So fan is pretty important. Now, I guess before I get over here, generally an RV fan is a big 14 by 14 inch square fan, which is like, that's huge. That's for a big RV. This is not a big RV. This is a small RV. I was going to use that if I had to, but I did come across this small round fan. It's only about 4.5 inches. It's 4 5/8 actually. I just had to measure for the drill bit the other day. I'll show you this thing here. I think it's going to work for what I need, but we're going to plan for the worst. If it doesn't work, then I'll be able to go to a 14 inch in the future. I'll just cut a bigger hole. So I'll go ahead and show you this fan. And here is our box from Amazon. Just a simple Amazon purchase. This was separate. This is our butyl tape mounting kit. Just picked that up at a local hardware store. So this is the main part of the fan right here. So it just sits on the roof, right? There's our flush mount right there that the butyl tape's going to go under to seal up. There's our fan. Now, the damn thing said in the ad that it was a 7.5 inch fan. That said the opening was 7.5 inches. So I went ahead and ordered a 7.5 inch drill bit, because who the heck's got a hole saw that big at home? I sure didn't. The thing showed up and I'm looking at this going, nope. Maybe if I was lying to women at the bar about what the size of the big fella. But no, I went ahead and measured this up. Now, looks like it's about 4.5, but it's actually, if you get right down there and look, it's 4 5/8 inches. So I went ahead, ordered a 4 5/8 inches hole saw. So that'll just fit there. Get out of there. So there's our drill bit. This is for something else, not important. Comes with 0 instructions, but shouldn't be too hard, right? I mean, we're not geniuses here, but we're not idiots either. So I should just need to connect these two, run some power into here from our power source that we set up in the van. But for now, we want to drill the hole so that we can mount this, seal it up. Once that's done, then you got this here is basically set your depth for however thick our roof insulation is going to be. So we can just trim this down to whatever size we need. And then that will mate with this. The other side will mate with that. And then we should be all good, all set. Now, however, I don't even think I'm going to need that extender at all. I might be able to just get away with this right here. And I hope this isn't actually too deep itself. Otherwise, I don't know if it is. We'll build some sort of trim ring, something there that looks half decent once we're all done and trimming everything in and finishing up everything inside. So I'm thinking, there's the back, there's the front. I think I want to leave the back side open, or available, I should say, on the roof for an eventual air conditioner install. Sorry, that's blurring me out there. So I don't want to put anything back there. I feel like this is a good spot. This front panel right up here is where I want to mount the fan, because then the only windows I can open in here are the front ones. So I can go ahead and build some sort of like mesh style spacer for when the window comes down that'll fit in there. You can pinch the window up with it. That'll give us a vent to draw fresh air in, and then the fan can suck that air out and we'll get air circulating in here that way. Or in the winter, we can just leave the fan running there to suck the hot air out, because these diesel heaters, they don't have a thermostat per se, in the sense that they turn off and on. All they do is just run steady. They run at a low heat or a high heat, depending on what the thermostat says, but they don't ever turn off. So in a small space that's well insulated, even on its lowest heat, like, you might need the heater to be running to stay warm, but the heat running on just its lowest setting could still cook this van out. So I want to have an option. You can suck that hot air out and just maintain a nice flow of warm air that will just keep things tepid. So now, as you can see here, we're going to mount this fan. I don't want to be on the roof and run into this crossbar here, this support bar. I don't want to end up drilling through that by accident. So I'm going to go ahead and use some painter's tape to just mark right here on the edge of the roof where that bar is. So I have a visual when I'm on the roof and I can see, and then I can measure out. I don't know, I'll probably mount it right there in the center. But either way, that I need to have enough space that when we cut in that round fan, if we ever run into problems or this fan isn't good enough, it doesn't pull enough air or whatever, or craps out, and I want to go bigger, I have room that I could cut a big 14 by 14 hole around that round hole, right? Square around that hole, so that we don't end up with some other jagged hole on the roof that we have to fill. So I'm going to go ahead and tape that, get on the roof, try and mark a spot and see where we can go ahead and drill, and then we'll get to drilling here. All right, so let's set it up. Okay, well, we're up here on the roof. Like I said, I got the tape line over there to mark where our support bar is inside here. I'm just going to go ahead. I don't want to be right against that bar when I drill this hole. So I'm going to give myself about, 4 or 5 inches here. We say it's the set for the center point, and then we'll have a good, it's 2 5/16 on either side of that point, because that's half of 4 5/8. So let's just go 5 inches out here. Let's make a mark. And this, unfortunately, with all these ridges in the roof, they've kind of determined our center point for us. So I only have to measure the width of this track right here. And then I can find the center point from there. This is looks like about 3 inches. So I'll give myself 1.5 inches will be the center. Okay. And I think my eyes were deceiving me from being so far away, because that's definitely not center. Well, that's why I was looking at the wrong side of this thing, you dope. It's actually 4.5 inches in width here. So we need 2 1/4 to mark our center point. That looks a little closer. Now, I just want to get a feel for where exactly this hole is going to go before I start drilling the big one. So I'm going to go ahead and just fire a screw here into my center point. Right. Now we can use this square here as a bit of a compass, because I think the problem I'm going to have here is you can see these ridges. The width of this fan is going to overlap these, which is going to be a bit of a pain in the butt for sealing it, but we'll figure something else. So I'm just trying to get a feel for this. It doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just trying to get a feel for my hole here. So I got 2 inches. There's 2.5. 2.5 would be close enough. This is certainly not a precise science. It would be nice to have a real proper compass here, but I haven't done grade 8 math in a long time, so I don't have a geometry set at home anymore. Oh, it's like going to just overlap this thing here. Slow and steady wins the race. A lot of room to work up here. It's getting in the way everywhere. I was going to try to use string for this, but I figured that would just be a chat show. All right. It's going to just tip over these ridges here. So that kind of sucks, but I think with a bit of lap sealant or something like that on top of this and below this butyl tape, we might be good to go. So that looks good enough. I'm going to drill it. Can always fix it later if it's screwed up. But I'd rather not have to fix a water leak. So we're going to try to do it right the first time. So yeah, I think that looks good enough to drill. All right, hole saw ready. We are a minute away from no going back. Try not to destroy this roof standing up here. Can I be able to see my center hole where I'm drilling? Oh man, that's tight. All right, here we go. Get the drill going the right way. Turn up the juice on this drill. Like I said, slow and steady, right? I don't want to go that slow though. Let's get a new battery. New battery. Let's do this. Almost through there. This is where you got to be real careful to stay steady, because these ridges here will send the hole saw bucking. So see, she's just about to let go. There we go. Oh, that's a hole. It's going to be hot. I don't want to touch that yet. Okay. Now hopefully I can get down in there, get a hole cut in that insulation piece, and see what the heck's going on here. Probably have to get a file up here and clean up these burrs. So let's do that. All right. That's cooled down enough there now. I want to yank that disc out of there. The burrs are generally all from the bottom because of us drilling down. Pushing the metal out. Got my file. Fortunately, I only got a flat bastard here. I don't have a half round, which would be nice. But clean this up a little bit here with this. Get a blow gun, blow all these filings off of here. And then I actually brought a screwdriver here, so I'm just going to go ahead and go through. My drill bit penetrated just a bit into this insulation, but there, get all the way through. That'll give me a guide to go from the bottom and get my hole cut exactly square from the bottom. Not square, but center. You know what I mean. Clean a little bit of this up from here. I hope I don't have to get the grinder out and really clean this up to open it up, because that 4 5/8 is the exact size of that fan hole. So it might be a little bit snug going in there. Give her a little clean up. I can probably get it better from the bottom, but that's a start. So I'm going to go down below. We're going to get rid of this insulation hole here, clean things up from the bottom, and then we'll test fit that fan. Here we are underneath. My kid decided to start tearing that foil down, unfortunately. But us kids, what are you going to do? This is probably going to rip it all up anyway. Oh, not bad. Did we get through? We got her. Okay, perfect. I think I actually did pretty good cleaning those burrs up from up top there. Oh, there's a little more. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and take this right out. This is why I didn't glue these or anything up top yet. Here's our file. File holder would be nicer. Oh, no. Should probably wear gloves for this. So cut my hands off. Looks better. Okay. Let's try and shove that fan in there now. See how that goes. First things first. Better get some air out here. Blow all these shards of metal off the roof. I don't want to be kneeling into there and end up with tetanus. You guys know anybody who's ever had tetanus? I've never even heard of anybody ever having that. But you gotta get that shot. Pretty sure I got my tetanus when I was in grade 4. Anybody ever got a new tetanus shot? I don't think I ever have. Bye-bye pen. Bye-bye screw. Oh, she's not gonna make it. That's okay. Cleaned up, good to go. I'll just leave this thing hanging here. And I think that that air pump's gonna shut itself up here before too long. Kind of a loud one. You can see that hole there. Look into the hole. Now, I almost am positive this is not gonna quite fit, but oh yeah. Tight, but look at that. Can you guys see that? There's a gap under there. Like here's my square. Let's see, I bet you I can, oh yeah. Like easy fit the whole square under there. Okay. So yeah, it does lap out onto these, the hole doesn't quite lap over this ridge, but the flange does. So, okay. Well, let's figure out how we're gonna seal that up. On to the next challenge. All right, back up here like a beached whale on the roof. Now, the instructions for this butyl tape, which came as a installation kit for a vent, which was just basically the tape and some screws. The directions said specifically that for ribbed areas, you can go ahead and just overlap the tape in those areas to build up so that you have a level surface to mount to. So, I'll just go ahead and do the least manliest thing ever known and follow the directions. Why not? So, let's see. I don't know how pretty I can make this or how pretty it even needs to be. Never done this before. But it can't be that hard. Going in circles though with it is a little bit, we'll see how that goes. It does say you can use it for round vents, so. But the stuff's like clay almost, so it should be a little bit malleable here to go around corners. Try and get it pretty close to the edge here. Oh, here comes that sun again. Glare you out. Hopefully you can still see. I don't know if there's much to see here, but follow the line. If you painted outside the lines as a kid, maybe this isn't for you. Okay, almost there on the first ring. And then this stuff does compress a bit, which I guess is how you get your seal. Let's lift this off a tad bit. We'll peel this end here a little bit to meet up. You can say, worst case scenario, I'll just come back and with some sort of liquid sealant and goop up the ends of it everywhere. I guess everyone uses lap sealant for this, which looks horrible. You know, I've used silicone to seal everything I've ever had to seal in my entire life, and I've never had anything leak. But the entire internet seems to think that silicone will just not hold up and it'll leak. And when has the internet ever been wrong? So I guess I better just do it the way everyone says you should do it and not use silicone. Apparently Sikaflex is a good one to use. I probably shouldn't goop my dirty fingers all over this. But what are you going to do? Okay, let's try and get this right there. Go for our double layer. Jesus. I think they just make this stuff in round rings like they do with toilet seals or something. Should I go that way? I already cut it that way, so let's have the cut line up. Now, let's have ourselves a look here. Not like I'm trying to be perfectly flush here, but just to gauge if I'm going to be. I think that should be enough, I want to say. I think once you squash that down, that'll be enough there. Just that one extra layer. Blow away! Just kidding, I don't litter. I'm going to pick that up after. Okay. In the hole you go. This is already hanging up here. I went too close. I'm too close to the hole. You ruined Christmas. All right, let's see. Can we get her in there? This is this one little blob that's hanging up. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, if we turn this the right way, those screws will all sit on the flush here. Okay. Well, we'll see. Time for a drill. We're going to drill this thing down. And then that's the hardest part done, I guess. Unless I got to come back and hillbilly it up with something liquid. Okay, I'm going to go get my drill. We got the drill. It's DeWalt time, baby. All right, 4 screws. These look like they should pierce sheet metal fine. Now, the only thing the directions said that I didn't do was you should drill holes first in the roof, but I don't really want to do that because the roof is so thin. I want to let the screws pierce the roof. And I think I'm going to need an extended drill bit, because this thing doesn't get quite enough jam. Let's see here. Oh, yank her out a bit. Give us a little more. That's like measuring from the butthole. One. Okay. That one's being a jerk. Hopefully we don't have to come back and get a drill bit for this one. Ooey gooey. Okay. Do I have any? There's still a bit of a tip left on that. Okay, why is this one being such a jerk? Bubble gum. Tastes like cancer. There. You wanted to be tough, screw, but you're not. DeWalt's tougher. Now, I don't want to over squish this, but it's got to be compressed enough that all that airspace is out of there, and we got to seal. But I don't want to deform the flange at all. Okay. Quieter, compressor. Oh, it looks pretty good to me. Might have to flood test it later to find out, but I think so far that looks good. She's solid, sealed. All right. Now we got to move into some wiring on the inside. And I stuck the rain cover on, so I thought I should show you that. Ooh la la, she's pretty. All right, back down. Go inside now. There is our fan protrusion. So to make that fan work, it's going to need some power. It's just 12 volts, so easy peasy, need a power and ground. But I am having a bit of a last minute decision crisis here. I don't really know what I want to do. Originally, so there's the back. I was going to have the batteries just tucked in the corner back there for house batteries. And I don't remember if it made it on the camera for those batteries. I was originally just going to run like a cheap, you know, lead acid battery or something, whatever, so I could just run a split charge relay back there to charge it. I've gutted that because I'm going to run, like, I decided I'm going to go hard on the batteries and do big power, you know, Life PO4s. But so for those, you need some high amperage to charge them. So I got a DC to DC charger that's going to have to go in at some point, which I think we're going to take care of today. But I'm starting to think I want to do the batteries just up right behind the driver's seat here. So I would just have a cabinet essentially there, and then on the front of that cabinet, I'll show you here in a second, I've got some gang switches that'll be for all my 12 volt supplies. However, there's not going to be a whole lot of them because we need one for the fan. We need a supply for that. There's going to be a 12 volt water pump for the sink, right? So that's the fan. That we have the heater, which I'll tie in for now. That's going to be going bye-bye at some point, but for now it's our source of heat, so I'll have to wire that in. And then eventually we're going to have air conditioning. That is going to happen at some point, but not right now. So I think it would be good to have the batteries close to where the air conditioning would go, because then you have the least length of run, the least voltage drop, so smaller cables you can run, all that. If you know anything about power, that's how that works. So I don't think this is far enough away though that it's going to matter. So I think I do want to just do the batteries right here. So I will show you that gang switch that I've got. We can tie all our electrical loads into that. I'm not going to do any plugs or anything. I think what I'm going to have, because we'll have our 12 volt batteries there, and I will, in that whole cabinet that I'm going to make there, we'll have an inverter to run any potential 110 volt loads that we want to run. Like maybe some, you know, portable AC before I have a nice 12 volt system set up in here permanently. So in that cabinet can go the inverter, the DC to DC charger, this gang switch will be on the outside. Like anything power related can go in that cabinet. And then from there we can, I don't know, figure everything else out. But I think in the meantime, what I want to do is just get some wires around for this stuff. Like I say, I'm not doing plugs or anything. So all I need to do is run some leads, some wire here. Oh, lights, that's the other thing. So that's my other load. I'll just mention lights real quick. Every time I see people do these vans, they do these puck, 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 puck. Like, you have no headspace in this van. So you're just going to be sitting here with direct light shining right in your eyes. I kind of feel like direct lighting is not what I would want in here. To each their own. So what I do is I have some LED strip lights that I'm going to run along right underneath that little jut in the roof there, as you can see, and then I'll put a trim piece down on it so you don't actually see the lights directly. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side here. So then you have like indirect lighting that'll still light the place up plenty, because they're LED lights, they're really bright, but they won't be just shining directly in your eyeballs, you know. So I think that'll have a little nicer mood to it. Not that there's going to be any magic happening when you live in a van down by the river, but the lighting should look nice, at least to sit in here. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll put you down. We'll show you what we're working with here and figure out how we're going to line it all up. All right, I kind of lied, not really. I didn't actually get the set of gang switches yet. This right here is just my distribution panel. I'll try not to talk your ears off too much here and just kind of show you the rigmarole. There's all your 12 volt loads. There's a breaker for one. You can put all your 110s, 120s, whatever you want to call it, in there. And that's all the connection for that. But it's kind of just designed to be like shore power hooked to that. There's your plug on the back to just run from a shore power plug, right straight extension cord into there. So that can supply our 110s, but I'll probably just run the inverter into there because I don't know, I'll still have shore power, but I'll have it teed off with the inverter. So you can run it off either one. And then of course we got the DC to DC battery charger. I got a decent one, Renogy, not sponsored, nothing here. Just they seem to be the go-to. 40 amp. And then our LED strip lighting, which I think is what I'm going to start working on next. Like I say, I'm just going to have to figure out how we're going to connect that up there. If we're going to just RTV or run some two-sided tape or whatever. But let's get on that right now. All right. I almost couldn't have planned this better if I had tried. So we got our strip lights here. They actually have an adhesive backing on them there that you just peel away and stick. So I hope that holds up long term. But the plan is that we can access this stuff. If it doesn't hold up, then I can go back and I can just glue them up, or I can some proper strong 3M two-sided tape if I need to. Now, right up here, this is where I want to start them. You got the door. I don't need the lights above the door. I just want to start them right here and go all the way around. I measured all that. I've got 5 meters of light to work with here. I have almost exactly 5 meters of ring that I need to get through. I didn't even plan it that way. I thought that 5 meters would be plenty and I'd be cutting some off, but it's almost perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and get to gluing these up, and we should make it all the way around because I think I know how to read a tape measure. Okay, let's go. All right, lined up pretty good. Now here we go. This is the tail end of these strips coming up right in line with where I said I wanted my batteries to go, and I'm gonna have my whole electrical cabinet right to the roof there. So that is perfect right there. Now, the one thing I was worried about was that this is on a 110 volt plug, and I was worried the controller might be in here. The lights themselves are 12 volt powered. So this plug knocks your 110 down to 12 volt direct current so that you can power your lights. But it turns out, I was reading the directions there, and the controller is built right into that tail end right there. That's what the remote connects to. So that's perfect for me. So that means I can go ahead and just basically get rid of this. I can just cut this tail off and we'll wire it direct to 12 volt. I didn't want to have to go 110 volt for this and wire it through an inverter and everything. It just make no sense. It's extra power and you lose the efficiency through the inverter. There's just no reason for it. So we can direct power that 12 volt. And once we have the cabinet set up, we'll worry about tying everything in. But that worked out great in the meantime. All right, I don't know if you want to see a close-up here of this, but let's show you. Okay, so there's our doors, and I just started my strip over here. That tail's just hanging off there, no biggie. And we ran all the way around there, up here, all the way back here, and right to the end. So like I say, I'm going to go ahead and have a trim board down here, so that'll make the lighting indirect. It'll just shine down and be a little milder that way. All right, next thing I thought we would look at is tying in some cabling for the DC to DC charger. Now, these express vans fortunately have a pretty easily accessible fuse box right inside the van. So I already went ahead and yanked the seat out. Let's take a look at this here. Okay, so here we go. yanked the seat out already. It was filthy in here. It's like gross. I already vacuumed, wiped it out a little bit. Still a little bit gross down there. Can't wait to get this all done and get a proper detail on this thing. So here's our fuse box. Just gonna yank that lid off here. Now, quite a few empty spaces if we really wanted to just trace everything down and then just clip the wire that we need down here out of the fuse box with power for our circuit. Because for this DC to DC charger, we need, we're going to need a power, which like full gauge power, we're just going to grab right off the battery positive terminal that goes right to this, supplies this fuse box with power. So we're just going to put another cable out that way. We will need a ground, which we can tie in just to the chassis somewhere. And then one of these circuits here will have a switched power source that's only lit up when the key is on, which is what we want. That's what's going to tell that DC to DC charger to turn on. So let's see here. I already kind of scoped this out. You can see number 13 is the rear blower. And we just happen to have completely demoed that thing out of here. We don't need a rear blower in here anymore. So that circuit, this is number 13, 30 amp there, is not supplying anything. So I'm just going to go ahead and run a fuse tap right in there. See if I can do this one-handed here and show you. So we will yoink that guy out. Now, this fuse tap here, I'm just going to run this in. I'm going to have to turn this around, which is kind of a pain in the butt just because of the way it faces. Should get a better fuse tap. But I can run that right in here. And we'll just run it out the backside. The wires there, we can just go ahead and put 10 amp fuses into that. The circuit might be rated higher, but we only need 10 amps, whatever, to supply that, to turn on signal for that charger. So I'll go ahead and get to that. I was just looking though, all these, like this fuse tap, of course I have, does not go very deep. And these terminals here, you can see they all have a big shoulder on them to protect the fuse, but now they're in the way of the fuse tap. So I'm either just going to break them off or something here, and we will run our fuse tap. Okay, before we get too carried away here, I figured I better come actually check some stuff out here. Pulled out the meter. We got volts direct current. If you're checking fuses, I wanted to confirm that I had a switched power source here and what was, because really convenient would be right up here, this spare at the top. It just listed as a spare. Unfortunately, that's hot all the time. I went through this whole fuse box and I was kind of blown away. The only switched power I could find in here was this one and this one, which is 9 and 10 in the descriptor here, which is HVAC 1 and HVAC not 1. I didn't really want to tap into an HVAC circuit, but it's the only switch power that's there. This is really just an on-off to trigger a relay inside the DC to DC charger. So it shouldn't be pulling a bunch of amperage. I should be okay to not overload that circuit or anything. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know if there's a better source for switched power. I was looking around at diagrams and stuff, and it seems like this thing, like even the stereo there, if you're wiring in a aftermarket stereo, which we will be doing eventually, you can't even pull switched power out of that harness there, because these Chevys, they basically use a data bus to just tell the stereo to turn on through this, I think it's the wrap system. I don't even remember now, but the only place I could find online where you could pull switch power from was under the steering column, like for the ignition. There's a wire under there, and I don't really want to pull that apart and start tapping wires right now. This is my most convenient spot. So I'm going to go ahead and just get my tap of fuse right here on this HVAC 1. And we'll run that out the back there, and then I think I mentioned already, you're going to go ahead. I don't have my stuff yet. I'm waiting on packages from Amazon, but I'm going to go ahead and tap the post right here for the main power, and then we'll have a ground back here somewhere that we can tap, you know, a post for ground there as well. And that'll be the main power supply into the DC-DC charger. But as you can see, there's nothing back here yet. I still have to build a whole wall platform, you know, a whole cabinet here for storing the batteries and all that. And then I'm going to need to mount the DC to DC charger to something. So I'll, like I say, I'll be building a kind of a wall right up to the ceiling there. And that'll just sit behind the driver's seat. So before I actually get too carried away plumbing wires in, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. So I'll just go ahead and set you up before I explain what I'm doing here. I've already measured out the batteries that I'm using. So I know what size I need. My batteries aren't here yet, but I know the size of a cabinet I need. So I'm going to go ahead and set up and just start trying to frame something in there. And then we'll have a housing to do all of our electrical in, because we got to run the wires over for the fan. And I'm actually going to be putting a TV in the back there, so I'll have to run some sort of power for that. And then, you know, we're going to have a fridge and microwave over there. So I think I should probably get to running all these wires over to a cabinet first, but the cabinet needs to be there first. So let's get started on that. All right, this took a lot of messing around off camera here, but I'm going to show you the bit of progress that I'm at and how I did this and how I arrived to where I'm at. It was a lot of piecemealing and fitting things together. So I'll get you flipped around here and let's see what we're dealing with. Okay. Here we go. So, well, let's get it further back so you can kind of see exactly what we're dealing with here. Right, here's the side doors coming in. Just right behind the driver's seat, which is currently missing. But right there, I know I needed a 20 by 20 inch square on the floor because my batteries are going to be about 20 long by 10 wide, so I can fit 2 of them in there. So first step I figured I wanted to do was get my square built, but then I had to determine where exactly this was going to go on the floor. Now, you can see here, I know that I don't mind it being a little past the driver's seat there, but I still want room to be able to get through this cab here when it's all built up. So if I went flush right up against the wall with this square, then as the van wall curves in as you go up, well, now it makes it a pain in the butt to build your wall to kind of have a solid backing there. So I built the square, and then I went to the narrowest part of the roof here, and I basically press fit, like cut one of these 2x2s right up to the ceiling, and it's just basically pressure fitted there right now. Nothing's bolted together currently, no screws, nothing yet. This is all just loose fit. So I kind of pressure fit that thing in there with this rung right here, and then I adjusted this base, just wiggling it out, and put the level up here, because even though the van might be parked on a slant right now, like forward to backward, it should still be level in this sense here. Plumb is, I guess, what you'd call that. So I just kept shimmying out there until I got to plumb with that stick from the roof down to the floor. And then over here, I know that I needed a little bit of room because I'm going to put some plywood on a wall coming up here, and it has to be able to fit through there. So I started shimmying this stick out here until I had room where I figure I can get a sheet of plywood through there, right, to make up this wall. Then I basically had to, there's no way to tell like what's level going straight up this way. So I basically just had to align this with the rib here in the side of the van, because I figure that should be pretty straight there. So I aligned that way. Then I just rechecked my plumb on this side. Once I knew that was good, I measured my distances from the front of the wall and the back here against this rung. And then I was able to just make sure that was what I figure is about square out from the side of the van, so that this whole cabinet will end up being square. Then, once I knew I had this back one straight, square, everything, I went ahead and I traced the line out there. I just made some pencil lines in here so I know where the lines on the floor once I take it out. And then just squared up on the side here with my carpenter square, and then made some more lines. I mean, obviously that, like I said, nothing screwed together here, so I'm just trying to show you for visual purposes here right now. So I squared this up, made some more lines for this, and then I squared up this corner, that corner, and then there you go. Made sure it was all square and drew lines to copy everything. And then I got some lines copied there so I know where that stick should sit. And then I can take this out of here now. I can frame this square up with screws and everything, so it's all good. I'll probably come back and just, I mean, I'll show you, but I'm going to come in and just use some PL 400 or whatever to glue this to the floor. And then we'll have that up there. We're going to make another, I mean, I'll show you, but I'm going to make another wall here and on the back there, just with a couple sticks going up to the roof. And then we have our main, I don't know what you want to call that, just support beam on the wall where I can attach cabinets to. So I'll just go ahead and put a 2x4 out from there to just hold this thing all steady that way. And then when you add the plywood to it all there, that'll stable up the walls and everything. But well, you can see all the mistakes I'm going to make. We'll get on with that. But I just wanted to show you how I set up this square and made it all kind of fit. And then the base of the cabinet's done. We can build everything off of there, which should all turn out okay. So let's go ahead and get that square done up and move on with life. Well, I thought that turned out all right. Now, I don't know if any of you guys are actually been following along the whole time, but if you recall, when I was doing this floor, I did say, you know, I'm using OSB, and a lot of people might say that that's wrong. And I said, you know what, I don't care. I'm just using scrap, and this is just a cheap project to kind of see how it goes, do it for fun. You know, if I do another one in the future, I'll make it nice. But here I am with this OSB, and I'm gluing this floor. I think the glue is still going to work good, but the problem with using the OSB is that you can't really drill anything to it, right? It doesn't, like, you can fasten through it to a stud or to something hard, but like 3/4 inch plywood would have been, you know, or 1 inch plywood would have been the way to go for this floor, you know, if you were doing it right, because then I could have just drilled this cabinet right down to the floor, and instead I'm gluing it. I probably would have put glue on it anyway, even with the screws in there, but you know, just helps it from like straightening it up and not squeaking or anything like that, like stopping any movement between the two woods, which is something I don't really want. So I'm not like disappointed that I used the OSB, but it's just funny. Here I am now, and you guys get to see how silly that all is. Because if I would have just used the hardwood, you know, or the plywood, spent a little money, went to the hardware store and made a trip, I would have had a good floor for fastening stuff too. All right, I managed to not step in my glue. Let's see if I can do this without making too much of a mess here. But these lines on the floor that I traced with everything square worked out. Beauty. Which is great. Because when he saw me there drilling everything together, it was nice and easy to line it all up so I could drill my pilot holes. Which I don't know if I mentioned, but yeah, I don't want to risk splitting anything. I'm just using 2x2. Which is actually 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches because it's dimensional lumber. So I didn't want to split anything, you know, going through the short end of these like this. So I just drilled a pilot hole for those screws. And I was able to line it up perfectly with these lines drawn on the floor there to keep everything square, because I don't have clamps big enough to go end to end on these and hold them together. Keep everything square. And actually, you can get some handy products that clamp right in the corner and keep stuff square for you too. That would have been nice, but it worked out pretty good. So, okay, let's just make sure this still eyeballs okay at least. I think it does. Oh, until I just stepped on it. I thought I would just help squash the glue down. Instead, I just moved the whole thing. Goof. I say goof all the time, which is just like I always thought it was just a generic, hey, I did a goofy thing. That was silly. But I don't know if you guys know. I had a brother who's a bit of a character. He was in jail for a while. He told me that goof is pretty much the worst insult you can use in jail. So I always thought it was a pretty innocent, silly thing. And he said, well, I won't say the word here in case I get YouTube gives me a ban for it, but people that do diddling on people they shouldn't be diddling, they're called goofs in jail apparently. Did anybody else know that? Did you know that? I did not know that. Okay. Got that thing squeezed back good at the top there. She's all framed out. I just got to let that glue dry now, but I can continue on framing up some walls on the back and front here. Yeah, looking good so far. Alrighty, little progress update here. Before I run out of daylight completely, as you can probably tell, it's starting to disappear. Got a light in here. I hope you can see something. But I just made up I haven't attached anything else yet. So it's just so far off camera. I made this little front wall here that still has to be drilled down. And then I made another square rung for the top. So that should keep it square top to bottom here. And whoop-de-doo hula hoop. And then we made up this wall here. And that butts up nice to give it some rigidity at the top there. Well, I guess you can't see that. It just butts up to the top rail of the van. So I'm just going to go ahead and drill these in, put my square up in the top there. I guess you can't see the top either. I didn't angle the camera good enough. So we'll go ahead and frame that up in there. And that should give it some nice rigidity. And then I might go ahead and put a 2x4 down the side from my support beam on the side there, my little mounting beam on the side of the van, because that thing's good and solid. So then if I make this is all fairly solid, once I frame it up, then I can put a nice strong runner here to frame that up to the wall and really strengthen everything up. And I hope that works out well. So I'm going to go ahead and try and get that all together. And then I'll give you one last view of that before we shut her down for the night. But we've got to go, we got a lot of contours here. I got to cut. The wall curves up here, and then I've got this trim piece on the van that needs to go around. And then I want it to be pretty well right to the ceiling here. We're going to leave a little bit of room because the ceiling is going to have a nice trim piece up there, a nice wall panel piece just to make things look nice. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get a scribe again, set up our makeshift scribe and try and do the best we can with that. But first things first, get some measurements here. So I can measure to the roof at the highest point, and then the total width at the widest point that we need here, right down at the bottom, out to the edge of this cabinet. Then I can cut that piece as a rectangle, just squared up. And then from there, we can just slide that in here as far as it'll go and then start our scribing process. I'll go ahead and make up my scribe after I see how far this plywood fits in here. And then from there, we can go ahead and jigsaw that up. So first things first, yeah, let's get some measurements and do this. I'll probably just do that off camera because you probably don't need to watch me run a jigsaw. So I'll come back at you with a cut piece of wood and see if it fits. All right, not completely done, but the clamps are just up there. I just left them for now, but it is screwed in up top there. So let's get back here. Here's our clamshell doors. All right, we can come in and There's a square, comes up. I think it turned out pretty well so far. And there we go. I tried to do these center supports right in line. It doesn't look like it because of the way the angle here, but it's right in line with that crossbar there. So yeah, I think so far it's looking all good. It's looking all right. Here's the side here. So we're all screwed together there at the top. See, I got just a touch there on that top rail. And yeah, the tail end of our LED strip lights hangs down just back here, which is perfect because that can we can power everything right through the back here. So this is where I kind of want all of the wiring and whatnot. It's just going to come back through the back side of this wall, and then we'll have our batteries there, and everything will be connected inside. I know it doesn't look like much now, but it's coming together. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting something done here. It's great. So, losing daylight for now, but we'll get back on it tomorrow. It's all going to be the same thing for you guys because it's all in the same video. So I'll finish this up, get some more wiring done, and that'll be that. So I'll see you tomorrow. All right, I got a square sheet cut here. It's a rectangle, but square on the corners. You know what I mean. So we're sitting there just wedged in place. I've got my redneck hillbilly makeshift scribe made up here. So it's about 14.5 inches from the longest point here at the bottom. And you're not going to be able to see much of anything here because there's no room up the front of this van. So I'm going to just time lapse this a bit there. We'll try to get up here and get a relatively straight mark on our board, and then we can go jigsaw that off. And sorry about the noise here, guys. I got a neighbor who I don't know what he does for business in his garage, but he runs a generator from 9 to 5 all day long. So once the new baby here sleeping, it's going to be good times. But yeah, let's go ahead and scribe this up. I'll see if you can see anything, hopefully. If not, make believe. Okay, first draft. You guys tell me what you think here. We're seeing it from the back side. I just clamped it in place flush there. Come over. Followed the wall side pretty well. Like it's all tucked behind that pillar up front, which is what I was looking for. We're up to the roof. Now, I don't know what happened there. There's a bit of a gap there. That little guy, I wouldn't worry about that little guy. Yeah, we'll have a curtain in here, so that'll be fine. Could always maybe just backfill it with something. I don't really want to waste time cutting a whole new piece. Overall, came out pretty good. But yeah, I don't know what happened with the old scribe there. We cut a little too much, but overall, came out good enough to work. So I'll go ahead and screw that in place, and then we can go ahead and I don't know, figure out what I'm going to do next. All right, I really thought this was going to be an electrical video, but now that I've got the start of this cabinet framed in here for the electrical, I think I actually want to just move on with the rest of the framing of cabinetry, anything else I'm going to do. So I'm going to go grab my fridge because I got a frame around that and have a countertop there and everything. Microwave we're going to do. So I need to get these things in here, see their sizing so we can measure around them and figure out just what I need to make for openings and where everything's going to fit exactly. Because I am kind of winging this. I have a bit of a plan on paper, but it's nothing concrete. It's all just really loose drawings right now. I need to frame in where a sink's going to go. So I think what I want to do now is just go ahead, maybe start firing the wall paneling on here. So it, because the electrical is not going to run behind there anyway. I'm not doing any in-wall plugs or anything like that. So we'll do wall paneling and then get the appliances in here and start measuring up to just framing in more cabinetry. And I'll show you what we're doing there. All right, so let's get that stuff in here and move on. Alrighty, got a good bit more stuff done. I don't think it looks like a lot done, but it really is starting to come around. It felt like a lot of work that got done. So I'm going to go ahead and show you where we're at, and I'm pulling the pin for today. But let's see where we got to here. Here we go. We got the fridge up in place here, right where we want it. Just so I could see the measurements and all that. I went ahead and framed in a cabinet here next door. So I think I kind of just changed my mind mid-build here. I still have to do something for a microwave. I was going to go up top there, but I kind of forgot when I was framing this cabinet in here. So I was going to do a wall kind of up the side so that I could have a shelf up there and then do the microwave. But I might do the microwave because I don't need this huge cabinet here for all the electrical. The electrical will mostly fit on the bottom. So I think I can do basically just a shelf with a cabinet up top there where we can do the microwave. And then I'll just leave this open above the fridge. And then right here, I'm thinking to do the sink. So I can have the water containers down below, sink up top, and then small counter space next to it. Won't be much of counter space, but I went ahead and put the bed rail in here just to kind of visualize where everything's going. So I didn't lose control of my measurements. I was pretty dead set on having the fridge, or sorry, having the sink right here so that I could get access from this clamshell door to get the water jugs out the back. But I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal to get into them from there. Inside. So I'll probably just go ahead. I haven't really decided yet, but right here up to the bed frame, and we can come right out to where this door closes. Right? We can cover that whole section inside because you don't need that much space to get in and out. So I'll probably frame in something like a closet or just some shelving units, something there. But I haven't decided yet. I'm going to call her quits for today. I'm going to finish up this side here first before doing anything else. So that's it for today. I think it looks pretty good. What do you think, big guy? We did lots of hard work, didn't we?
Don't forget to say Maverick and Dad on air, right?
Maverick and Dad are on the air. You're on the air right now.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. All right. Did we do a lot of big work here? Yeah, you're a hard worker. And a tap dancer, apparently.
Do by saying Dad, hi, 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 hi.
Hi. All right, great. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. Thanks for joining us this time. So come back on the next one here and we'll get a bunch more done. Until then, have a good one.
Bye.